Xtalks connects professionals in the life science, medical device, and food industries with useful content like webinars, job openings, articles, and virtual meetings to help you succeed in your career. This life science focused podcast brings together some of our editorial staff to share insights into the latest B2B industry news to keep you up to date.
Hello, I'm Aisha Rashid, Senior Life Science Journalist at Xtalks.com, and welcome to a special edition of the Xtalks Life Science Podcast. This People in Life Sciences episode presents a day-in-the-life perspective of what it's like to perform a particular role at different companies and organizations within the life sciences industry. Today, we'll be highlighting roles in the field of pharmacovigilance, and we'll speak with Ashish Jain, who is the Senior Director of Clinical Safety and Pharmacovigilance at Curis. Curis is a biotechnology company focused on the development of first-in-class and innovative therapeutics for the treatment of cancer. As a pharmacovigilance professional, Ashish has expertise in case processing of adverse events and quality improvements, primarily in the area of clinical safety assessment, safety reporting and analysis, safety surveillance, signal detection, auditing activities, process improvements, quality assurance, regulatory compliance, and evaluating and implementing safety systems at both small and mid-sized pharma companies. To learn more about the day in the life of a pharmacovigilance director, let's turn to Ashish. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Hi, Aisha. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So, Ashish, I'd like to start off by asking you, what does a typical day in the life of a pharmacovigilance director look like? So could you describe a typical day for you as Senior Director of Clinical Safety and Pharmacovigilance, and also talk a bit about how you prioritize tasks and responsibilities and what a typical day entails?
Yes. So as far as a typical day, right? So first of all, no 2 days are same for me. Typical day involves like opening up my mailbox, looking at all my emails. I try to sort them out and prioritize based on the regulatory deadlines, actually. As you know, pharmacovigilance is driven by a lot of regulatory timelines. So that's why we have to comply to that in order to maintain compliance. So first of all, what I look for is look at all my emails, look at all the triage emails, look for any expedited reports. We are bound by stringent timelines, 7-day reports, 15-day reports. So it's very important for me to actually make sure that all the processes are being managed well in order to ensure that the report is ready, submission ready, because it involves a lot of steps. And if there are any issues that come up, I need to attend those. So that's my first priority. And then other thing that I move on to is again based on regulatory timelines. If I'm working on any sort of aggregate reports like the annual report, we need to ensure that that everything is working as per the timeline, because again that has a deadline of 60 days from the data log point. And any other regulatory requests that may come in, so that is my priority as well. So first is anything that is regulatory driven timelines. That is my highest priority in the day when I go online in the morning. And then the next is I can work on my other projects, such as if I'm working on a safety management plan, or if I'm working on any clinical study documents like informed consents, IBs, protocols, CSRs. So I'll focus on those. So I prioritize by assessing risk, time sensitivity, and an impact on patients and the business. I do collaborate very closely with my team in order to ensure that the workload is very balanced. So that's a typical day for me. But again, as I said, in a small company, priorities change. But the basic one starts with the regulatory deadlines.
And how do you collaborate with other departments and teams within your company to ensure drug safety and compliance with, as you mentioned, ever evolving, changing, and strict regulatory deadlines and requirements?
Yeah, so close collaboration is the key in order to be successful and also maintain regulatory compliance. So I see pharmacovigilance in the center of everything, and then having collaborating with as a circle, like you have to collaborate with regulatory affairs, data management, non-clinical, CMC, safety, medical affairs, medical writing. So there are lots of pieces to it in order to have a successful department, you have to collaborate with a lot of other team members. An example for that is aggregate report like DSUR. It's a huge document that requires compilation with efforts from all different departments like non-clinical, CMC group, clinical development group, a regulatory group. So it requires. So that's why you have to be effective communication is also the key. Having pre-reads being sent out, having kickoffs for such meetings, and ensuring that each and every department knows their responsibilities when compiling these documents. And another example I can give you is we work very closely with the regulatory affairs department, where we have to submit the FDA IND reports via eCTD. So what we do is everything that we case process in our safety database needs to be sent to our FDA, to our regulatory team, so that they can perform the submissions on time to FDA. So there should be no gap in between. So that's why collaboration is the key. There should be no gaps. And in order to ensure that we actually close the loop by getting acknowledgements from our regulatory team and attaching it to that particular case, so that we can maintain the compliance. We have proof, acknowledgement receipts, everything. So that's why you have to collaborate with a lot of different departments. In a small setting, you can't work in silos.
And the field of pharmacovigilance, of course, is rapidly evolving. And so, how do you stay informed and on top of the latest developments and integrate them into your strategies?
Yeah, so definitely it's rapidly evolving with so many new drugs coming, every year, very innovative therapies. So first of all, there are plenty of web resources available. I usually read articles on websites like Fierce Biotech, Endpoints, Biopharma Dive, and there are plenty of resources available. But I don't limit myself to only pharmacovigilance, but I try to learn more overall clinical development. Uh, learn more about my therapeutic area, because that helps you to understand what other companies are doing, what sort of safety profile for other companies look like. So it is very helpful to understand the overall landscape, and then how that can impact pharmacovigilance. So that is one thing: web resources and online platforms. Then there are professional organizations which people can join. One is International Society of Pharmacovigilance, Drug Information Association, has a lot of good resources that can be very helpful um, to be on top of latest developments. Um, then there are regulatory sites like FDA, EMA websites, where they have actually, you can go in and subscribe to email alerts for a topic of your interest, and you get all those emails from the FDA website to your mailbox, so you can continue to monitor, what the regulators are thinking, what sort of approvals approvals or any sort of developments that suits your interest can be subscribed to. And by actively engaging with various information sources, networking with your peers, participating in educational opportunities, I just stay informed about the latest developments, and proactively actually integrate them into my strategies. For another example here I can give you is FDA is trying to implement E2B R3 for clinical trial safety reports as well. So with that information, I need to make sure that we as a company are ready for that change. So that's why getting that information and how it impacts you and how you build your strategy is very important. So continuous learning from various sources is very important.
And so, stepping back just a bit, I wanted to learn more about your background in terms of how you began your career in clinical safety and pharmacovigilance and what inspired you to choose this path.
Yeah, so I was introduced to pharmacovigilance during my pharmacy school. And in our curriculum, we had the opportunity to actually work in a company as an intern and get exposed to various departments like regulatory affairs, quality assurance, manufacturing, safety. So that is where I got exposed. And then I also did some patient counseling as a part uh, I worked as a dispensing pharmacist where I interacted with patients, and that's where I developed a curiosity and a desire to contribute to patient safety. And then the pivotal moment for me was that when I realized that ensuring the safe use of medications was not just a job but a mission. And then I started working in a large company where I learned all the basics, doing the intake, triage, data entry, coding, reporting of adverse events, everything, all the basics. I learned at a couple of large pharma companies, and then I moved on to small pharma companies. Since last 9 years, I've been working in small pharma companies. So it has basically I just progressed in my career, and basically that's what inspired me, because the work that I do uh, improves patient safety and outcomes. So that's why there's an impact, and that's what I would like to continue within this field as and contribute more.
And you did touch on this, but in terms of the work being very fulfilling, so what is the most fulfilling aspect of your work? And which again, you did touch on that, but it'd be
Yeah.
great to hear a bit more because it's really important the work you do, and it's wonderful to hear that you I really liked what you said that it's patient safety is a mission. So
Yeah.
and so how has your interest within that space and within that mindset evolved over your career?
Yeah. So my interest has actually evolved from routine case processing, as I said, worked at a large company, learned all the structure. So my career has progressed from routine case processing now to strategic planning and, adapting to changes in regulations, technology, and the therapeutic areas keep me engaged. I work in oncology. I look at all the developments that are happening in the space so rapidly, and it's just beneficial to the patients. So safety is important because, there are two sides to the coin. One is safety and one is efficacy. Even if your drug is efficacious but it's not safe, approval is difficult, right? It should, or the benefit risk should be higher with a drug. So that's where I feel like my job, as I said earlier, it impacts patient safety and outcomes. Every safety report that we analyze, every risk assessment that we conduct, it all matters. It all leads to better patient outcomes. And the other things that I've learned, the interest is also collaborating with other departments like multidisciplinary teams. Work very closely with clinicians, statisticians, regulatory experts. It has been very rewarding, and we learn from each other um, and collectively enhance drug safety. So it's all about continuous learning, different aspects daily, and that's what keeps me engaged.
And could you discuss some milestone achievements in your career that you're proud of and that have had an impact and how they've influenced your approach to pharmacovigilance?
Yes, so a career milestone for me was building the whole pharmacovigilance system from the ground up, and this involved crafting processes, implementing tools, and establishing governance. So these were the three main things, and then it was very rewarding to see all these departments grow successfully. And this experiences have actually taught me how to elevate safety in an organization with limited resources. And this also underscored for me that how pharmacovigilance must be embedded from the early phase development and evolve along with the company. The other milestone that I would like to share is, successful development of a whole safety surveillance or signal detection framework. I was responsible for writing down the SOPs, building a structure, building a safety review board, have the memberships there, and it's a key meeting for the company where we take any safety related decisions. So it's a very structured approach with all the meeting minutes, everything. And I would like to, as I've learned from here, I would like to replicate, and help others as well, in order to establish that framework. So those are the two or three things that I feel where like which I'm very proud of because it was I was very successful at doing those, and I've replicated. So I worked as a first PV person department in a couple of companies, and you know have been successful at establishing those departments, running successfully. So that's what something that I consider as a milestone.
For a small biotech company looking to establish a pharmacovigilance department from scratch, what foundational steps, in your opinion, or would you recommend?
Yeah, so I think there are lots of challenges, first of all. So uh, whenever a new company starts a new clinical trial, usually what they do is they try to outsource all the clinical activities to a larger CRO. So when they do that, pharmacovigilance, of course, is a part of it. Clinical development, regulatory affairs, and different departments, basically clinical operations, they get outsourced to a larger CRO. So what happens is whenever as they grow, when they start a new indication or file a new IND, or file a new product. So they may go with a different sponsor, different CRO. So they may have multiple CROs working on. So there are multiple safety databases, right? So it's more of a decentralized model, and it's a scattered model. Usually I say scattered model because your data is across three different safety databases, three different safety teams are working on it. So it's not very harmonized. And as you scale, it's not sustainable. So one of the things that I usually do and have done this is centralize everything into one safety database, and set the processes. Because if you have three separate safety databases, it adds to your cost. It is not very efficient. So that's why centralizing is the key to everything. Because once you centralize your safety database, then you can centralize your harmonize your processes, customize those templates as per your need, and replicate them to other studies. So that's why it's very important to centralize it. So once you have your data centralized, it's easy to evaluate and analyze as well, um, and have more efficiencies in the overall process. And the key foundational step I would recommend is to hire a leader who can own the vision and the strategy. Select scalable technology solutions, define core processes, and also integrate PV into the corporate quality culture. So that's why the steps are really important when you initiate a pharmacovigilance department from the scratch.
And what are the critical considerations in setting up an effective pharmacovigilance system, particularly in a resource limited setting?
Yeah, so this is a challenge across all the small companies. We have less resources. So that's why it's very critical to find a good partner who can grow with you. And as I said earlier, but I see them as an extended team. So when I started working when I was building my team, I was very rigorous with my process where initially in this vendors identification part, I created a whole request for information, request for proposal, a detailed questionnaire for them to fill out. I check their references, at least three references, to ensure that they they will be a good partner for me. And I usually don't go for a larger CRO. I usually go for a boutique safety CRO who can understand my needs. And you can tailor as per your requirements. So that is very important to find such a partner. And then the next steps, once you are done with the contracting phase, the next 6 months are very critical, where you can have joint engagement planning, where you can work with the CRO very closely, provide them with your needs, uh, and uh, uh, have those customized templates built for you so that you can replicate for other studies as well. But provide them critical feedback on while you are setting this up, because those first 6 months are very crucial in order to have a smoother system. So once that stability is achieved, it's all about maintenance, and you can certainly have governance meetings to ensure you provide quality feedback, and give them um, you know feedback for continuous improvement as well. So the first 6 months, finding the right partner, finding a key leader is very important in order to establish a well functioned pharmacovigilance system.
And how can technology and innovation play a role in enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness of a newly established pharmacovigilance department?
Yeah, as I said in the earlier question, that the resource is a constant. That's why we have to embrace technology, because technology and innovation enables small teams to achieve outsized outcomes and increases our productivity significantly. Um, and for example, I want to give an example here. For example, so we are required to submit investigator letters to the safety letters to investigators across a trial site, so that investigators are informed about the safety of the compound. So, in smaller companies, usually it's all manually done. It's sent via email. Everything is being tracked in a spreadsheet manually. So it's not a sustainable process. It's okay when you have less sites, but as when you grow, a lot of compliance issues. And out of my learnings, actually, we leveraged a tool, a portal that we use now for distribution of safety letters to all the investigators, where it's just uploading. First of all, you configure the sites and the users within the system; they have access to it, and then it's just about uploading the report, and everyone gets a notification about that report based on the algorithms that we have set. So this reduces a lot of manual work, increases a lot of efficiencies, and you can get reports like um, you can just print out reports for acknowledgements. You don't have to maintain separate trackers. Everything is within the system. You can pull out and show for compliance purposes. Okay, uh, this is how we have managed. It helped us a lot. So that's why embracing technology is very important. Other technologies that we have implemented is there are many tools like Spotfire, um, Click, that can be used for data visualization that can give you more insights into your data. So, leveraging those as well really helps in understanding the data better. And it's very crucial to stay informed about emerging technologies, as we talked about AI, right? So we just have to continue to see how it evolves and how it can be applicable within the work that I do.
It's wonderful. And in terms of taking a look at the actual arena of pharmacovigilance and the skills that you need, what specific skills and competencies would you say are essential for success in clinical safety and pharmacovigilance?
Yeah, so first of all, I think the educational background, like someone with a healthcare professional degree, like a nurse, pharmacist, or a physician, is ideal. And then someone even with a life sciences background, with advanced certifications and training in pharmacovigilance is ideal. But apart from that, I think there are some soft skills which are really important, like analytical and critical thinking, ability to analyze complex data sets, identify any patterns because data sets are huge, and attention to detail. And as I said earlier, key collaboration, teamwork is important, communication skills, and problem solving abilities. So overall, I think along with the educational background, that helps you to get into the door, but there are soft skills that are needed in order to succeed.
And what are some common challenges faced by professionals like yourself in pharmacovigilance, and how do you work to overcome them and address them?
Yeah, so there are a few challenges that are, at least there. Of course, there are challenges, but I'll give you a few examples. So first is regulatory inconsistencies across regions. I'll give an example of that. So in the US, the FDA believes that the sponsor is the global safety database holder for a particular product, so they are in a better position to do the causality assessment, whether it's related to the study drug or not, because they have culmination of all the data in one safety database. And so FDA relies on the sponsor to assess the case and whether it needs to be reported or not. But again, in the EU, they follow ICH GCP guidelines, where even if it's considered as related by the investigator or the sponsor, it needs to be um, reported. So that's why we have to build our algorithms such where we have we report it only to the FDA and or sorry, we report it to the EMA and not to the FDA, based on these challenges. So that's why it gets complicated in order to have that regulatory intelligence, ensuring compliance with all these different regulations. And this is only at the national level or the regulatory level that I'm talking about. But there are a lot of issues or a lot of inconsistencies at local level as well, like local ethics committees. IRBs, you know, local ethics committees, central IRBs. So a lot of inconsistencies, and we have to be on top of that in order to maintain the regulatory compliance through, so you have to work uh, in very close coordination with the regulatory intelligence team to ensure that we get all the information in order to do those submissions. And then the other challenge that I see in a small organization is resource constraints, right? It's pretty common. So that's why we have to leverage technology and also identify a vendor who can grow with you. So those are very important because I consider them as a part of my extended team rather than a vendor. So that's really important. That's why you have to put a lot of effort in finding the right partner that can grow with you. Other challenges are, on the signaling side, signal to noise ratio. I work in oncology. These patients have gone through many prior lines of therapies. They have a lot of comorbidities. So you actually have to hone into the data to see whether it's actually related to the study drug or not. Um, so you have to look at the patient profiles, look at their medical history, look at the overall profile for and then look at individual patient level as well as at aggregate level to find those signals, whether it's a true signal or not. So that's why signal to noise ratio is also a challenge which needs to be addressed, and definitely it can be addressed with perseverance and innovation. Um, and then there are data reconciliation issues with different clinical databases. So we have our own safety database, and then there is a clinical database. Safety database is usually throughout the life cycle of the compound, and clinical database usually closes when the trial is done. So reconciling those, a lot of challenges there, depending upon the therapeutic areas as well. But I think this challenge can be overcome, and there are tools for those. But these are the most common challenges that I see.
And so, looking at the field of pharmacovigilance, what trends do you foresee in the field, and how should professionals be preparing for the future?
Yeah, so I think as other industries are progressing, like the hot topic right now is artificial intelligence and machine learning. I think definitely it will play an important role for pharmacovigilance as well in the near future, and and I think it will be an assistive technology that will boost our productivity. So better outcomes, basically leading to better outcomes. So I'm keeping an eye on this right now because I think regulatory authorities are also investing heavily into large language models and machine learning on their side as well. So I think I'm keeping a close eye on the developments within this space. The other space that I see trending right now is real world evidence integration and how it impacts safety to assess signals from claims databases. There are lots of data. So real world evidence is something which will play a larger role in the future. Then the third thing I feel is patients. Patient advocacy groups will play an important role in clinical development as well as safety. Um, Recently I've seen patient advocacy groups representing them in advisory committee meetings with the FDA. So their voice is getting stronger. Their involvement will be much stronger in the coming future, and it's very important. I truly support that. And then you know other than that, just keep an eye on what are the regulatory changes and expectations. Stay agile and adopt to evolving global regulations and new guidances that come out.
And as you look to the future of the field and also for yourself, what kinds of goals and objectives do you have in your current role and in your career in pharmacovigilance?
Yeah. So my goals are to continue championing patients' interest, share knowledge, mentoring the next generation of safety leaders, driving innovation that improves efficiencies and effectiveness. I'll try to participate in research or publish papers or white papers which may help, individuals uh, within pharmacovigilance, and just hope to, you know, share the knowledge that I've gained. to raise the caliber of pharmacovigilance.
It's wonderful. And finally, in the end, what advice would you give to someone just starting their career in clinical safety and pharmacovigilance?
Yeah, I think I would say build a very strong educational foundation with advanced certifications. There are degrees, like there's Masters of Science in Pharmacovigilance as well. Um, but one advice that I would like to give when I started my career, I read Barton Colbert's Manual of Pharmacovigilance. Very helpful. Um, it has actually a lot of insights into how pharmacovigilance works in the industry, and how various departments interact with each other, how a drug starts like from preclinical to post marketing, what are the pharmacovigilance activities and how pharmacovigilance plays a role in in getting an approval for the drug and maintaining in a post marketing setting. So you'll see across the lens like how pharmacovigilance plays an important role, what sort of different departments, and how you scale up pharmacovigilance teams. A very nice book that I would recommend people to to look at. And then also develop a solid foundation in PV activities, like signal detection, I think is very important, risk evaluation, labeling, safety reporting requirements. But again, as I said, like soft skills are very important as well. Critical thinking, problem solving, cross-functional collaboration is the key, clear communication, and this all skills are really vital. And uh, make it a priority to gain well-rounded experience across all stages of product life cycle, from early clinical development through post-marketing, and each phase has its own nuances um, and challenges when it comes to safety monitoring. So definitely, learn the basics as well. As I said, I started with a larger company. Um, Learned all the basics there, intake, triage, data entry, reporting. So that helped me evolve in my career because I understood the basics and now I could apply that and I know exactly what is happening um, when a SAE comes in, and how the process flows. So
Thank you very much, Ashish, for being on the show today. I greatly appreciate your time and the very important insights that you shared with us and your story and your journey in the field of pharmacovigilance.
well, thank you so much, Aisha, for your time.
And that brings us to the end of this special edition of People in Life Sciences episode of the Xtalks Life Science Podcast. If you liked today's show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you everyone for joining, and see you all next time. Bye for now.
If you enjoyed our discussions today, please share the episode with your friends and colleagues, and be sure to subscribe in order to be notified when a new episode is released. To join in on the discussion, you can find Xtalks on social media, email podcast@xtalks.com, or comment on the articles directly. Links are in the show description. Take a moment to join our community at xtalks.com to get access to everything we have to offer, including webinars, job listings, virtual meetings, articles, and more. The views and opinions expressed in the podcast are those of the speakers sharing them. They should not be taken as professional advice and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position Honeycomb Worldwide. For further information, email us at podcast@xtalks.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.